right, what's going on, guys?
So we're in the month of March, or early March here, and we just wanted to talk to home gardeners and market gardeners about what you can be doing or should be doing in your garden. Of course, this is contextual. We're on the West Coast. Some people are still under a couple feet of snow, and people haven't even done anything physically in their garden. Maybe they're doing their plantings. For us on the West Coast, things are starting to wake up, right? We're 10, 12 degrees today.
Yeah.
Almost t-shirt weather, not quite, and we're raring to go. But of course, we recognize there's some people in the middle part of Canada or on the East Coast blanketed by snow. Okay, you have your limitations. You also have your opportunities, because some growing climates out there are splendid during the summer months. So.
Yeah.
We all have our advantages and disadvantages. So what are you guys doing on your gardens right now?
So I just checked up on my garlic and to see how it was doing, and this time of the year we will amend the beds with some C90 and a vermicompost extract and some fish amino acid. And we do that because the soil is still quite cold, and the fertilizer factory that lives in there, it's more warm temperature. So until that soil warms up, we like to give it just a little kickstart, just a little bit of nitrogen to help it while the soil is still cool. And we'll do that once a month. So we'll be doing that actually next week. I just checked on it earlier this week. We're Friday now. And also just taking a look around the market garden, looking for pathways that might need a little bit more amending. I noticed some dandelions popping up here and there, so that's on the mind. And then seeding onions, and we're also putting in bulbils. We're doing a spring garlic planting, and so I'm pretty sure we've had our last frost. I'm still gonna wait a little bit. I'm probably
week.
gonna, yeah.
There's frost on the way.
So probably gonna wait on that, but I'm prepping. I'm getting my bulbils out and I'm getting everything organized. And we're also adding some new rows this year. So there's composting going on, checking on some piles that we started last year, and they're looking really good. And that's it. What about you?
Well, I'll start with compost because that's where you finished. I just made a beautiful batch of compost, so I guess I did that more in February. And I got it nice and hot, and now I've built a small structure and we've put it inside there, so it's going to sit there for a year. I'll add some worms in a few weeks here as it starts to cool down.
Is that the person compost that you're doing?
No, I did the heavy mixing every day.
Okay.
And it got really hot, and we had -10, and I managed to keep the heat just steaming in there.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a very happy compost pile.
Yeah. But from here on, are you going to be turning it?
No, I plan to leave it after this. So
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So. And then it's undercover, so it's not going to get rained on, because I find that's one of the worst parts of doing compost out in the open. So
yeah.
And then these things, I guess if you're on the prairies, this would probably be a good time to find some sweet potatoes if you're going to try to grow them. I put these right in the ground. You can also stick them in a glass of water, but I find that when the roots are actually working here, and I've planted them in a vermicompost mixed with potting soil. And they rooted almost instantly. And I started with these three here, these larger ones. They came from a supermarket, and it seemed like they were doing nothing. So the local harvest gave me one of these, which seemed to instantly start to produce. This is 2 weeks ago. These are from 4 weeks ago. And they're starting to root into the soil and throwing out these stems, which I'm going to harvest by cutting them off, probably slips like this, and get them rooted so that I can plant sweet potatoes this year. Onions have been seeded. I think it's not too late to still seed them. Any time now would be actually
onions
a really good
and
time.
leeks. You can seed both right now.
Yeah. And I've done some lettuces. I have seeded them, and I actually just planted them out under cloches in the garden. So, and I've got some cloches out there that are really heating the soil. The soil's warm to the touch now. So. A little bit of plastic over a bed or some glass will heat that soil up really nicely. So, and things like arugula and lettuce, I'm probably going to be putting out really soon.
I would say those should be direct seeded directly into your garden any day now, especially if you're on the West Coast. So even those frost days are no threat to these crops. Okay, so your radishes, arugula, spinach, cress. Those types of things, you can go in the ground right now. no problem. If you can protect them, then do, but they'll be fine. So what I find as well is even early carrots, you can seed them now already. Carrots and beets are no problem. It's a little early and they're not going to do a whole lot, but you will be surprised that once we do get that warmer weather, they've already, they'll be sitting in that moisture, they'll be swelling up, and then when you do get warm weather, they take off right away. You don't need that preparation period. Fava beans is another one that you can start right now. Peas directly outdoors.
And I saw you had your ginger already going in your crates in the greenhouse there. So
as early as possible with the ginger. I would even have liked to start them earlier. I think we started them end of January, but I would like to start them at the new year and get them in soil and warm as possible. So even if you could bring the temperature in the soil up to like 25 to 30, that would be ideal. You want to get them sprouted, and then from there they go into the soil in the greenhouse.
Which is, how warm is that? Also
as warm as possible.
Okay.
I like temperatures in the 40s.
They need 10 months, don't they, to really bulk up?
Yeah, and they need that intense heat.
Yeah.
So those are some of the fun things to try. Of course, peppers indoors should be started now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry too much about tomatoes, because tomatoes, especially if you're planting them outdoors, don't need to go out until May 15, even June 1. And they really take 6 to 8 weeks before you have a sizable plant. So you count back from, say, June 1. That means you're planting them April 15. Or early March. So don't rush on your tomatoes. I think it's too early.
I'm starting cauliflower and broccoli indoors this week. As soon as my seeds get here. There's been a bit of a delay, so if that's I'll be planting them out in 4 weeks then, I guess.
Yeah. It's a bit frustrating when things do come late.
And it throws the whole plan out of the window, right? Kind of like, so, and I picked really short season ones because there's stuff coming in afterwards. So, but we'll work with it. Just it'll be a trial then, I guess, on those. Yeah. One other thing I've done, I didn't talk about that, but I'm done all my pruning now, and I think most people, especially on the West Coast, you should be like our nectarine tree. I noticed today was actually opening flowers, so now's the time to be pruning the last of them. If you still can do some dormant oil, if you want to do that, then this would be a good week to do it, the drier weather.
I was thinking about what you just said, and as much as we've encouraged everyone to plan, and we know how important it is, I think you have to think of gardening as, you have a purpose, and the plan may change, but your purpose is to grow food, and you're gonna have to be adaptable. Because things, time and unforeseen occurrence, things happen, right?
I didn't give up. I didn't say, hey, I'm done for the year.
One more thing is potatoes. Get them in soil and do the same thing you would do with your ginger and sprout them as early as possible. Keep them in the house.
Would this work? Would just put them in soil rather than, because I just stuck mine in a windowsill without soil. So is this going to speed it up?
It will. Okay. Yeah, it'll significantly speed it up.
Because the moisture from the soil is...
Yeah, so we have a bunch of potatoes right now that have already set root, and that's where I want them, and I'm going to be planting them in the next couple of days in my garden.
Okay.
Give them that early start and then mound them, and they're going to pop out the ground so much quicker than if you take a cold potato that hasn't sprouted and plant that in the ground at the same time. It makes about 1 month difference in terms of your return. So we will harvest our first potatoes early June. Okay, the first new potatoes, and they're coming in at golf ball to tennis ball size, and those are the nugget potatoes, the new potatoes that we all like so much.
Yeah. And I would say, like, I was just in my storage locker grabbing a bottle of wine, and the potatoes are already going.
They're ready to go.
About 2 feet. Telling me it's time to go. And also, I noticed that my garlic, even though it's stored exceptionally well, as we start chopping it, we're seeing a little bit of yellow. It's telling us that it wants to go in the ground. So if you missed planting in September, don't worry. You can put garlic in the ground, and I wouldn't even be too concerned necessarily about a frost or whatever. In my tour, I found when we plant our garlic, the crows will sometimes come in and yoink them out. And I found them rooting right into wood chips, right in the pathways. So now's a good time to think about planting that spring garlic, and it will do really well. And one last thing, sorry, back to compost. If I've had a lot of people reaching out and talking about a pile that they've either had, some people like 2 years, they're really old piles, and they're wondering why they're not hot, or they're wanting to, use this compost. Is there anything that you can do right now? And now is a good time if you have some compost that kind of went dormant and you weren't really looking on it. Take your bokashi. If you've been bokashi composting, it only takes 2-3 weeks to do that. Take that, bury it into your pile, turn your pile. It'll get nice and hot, and you can use that as a mulching compost, right? Even if you got lots of chunks and wood and things like that, trust me, you'll be able to apply that stuff. And it'll go to work for you in any of those, like with potatoes is a really good example.
Yeah.
Things of that nature.
Jack, you got one more point?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I went to buy seed potatoes yesterday. I noticed they were $14 for a 2-pound bag.
Yeah.
And then I happened to go to an organic store and they had potatoes there. The bag was this big and they were $7.99. And I grabbed one of those too. And I'm sure that they're going to do just as good. So don't go spend a lot of money on seed potatoes.
Exactly, especially if you know if it's a great variety. So in the market right now, we have potatoes that we grew from last year. They're beautiful looking potatoes. Put those in the ground. They're a lot cheaper than buying the seed. The other point is, I would say, we talk a lot about potatoes here, but it is a staple. So I think people will forgive us. Last thing I'll say about potatoes is we purchased for my home garden a non-organic seed. Tried it in the ground. It must be irradiated. Nothing came.
No, have that the same.
And we've had problems there. So try to look for organic potato seed. And I like to add one more point, and that is record keeping. So over here in my little record keeping book, I have my week six seeding. We're in week 8 or maybe week 9 right now. And you can see all the things that I've seeded. Week 7 down below, I'm keeping track of what I'm seeding, the variety, the number of seeds that I'm putting in the ground, where I'm putting them, and just some other little details. So keep records. It's really important.
Yeah, and I wanted to add that the forums. Please share your seed plan. Share what you're doing. Share your photos. There's so much you may not realize it. Even the tiniest little balcony grower's seed plan could be something that could help someone who's overcomplicated it resimplify. It could give them ideas, varieties. There's so many things. Please don't hesitate to share. And especially when you're asking questions, because all of us are on Instagram and we email and so on and so forth. When you share in the forum, collectively we all benefit from that. And so I know it takes extra time, but we really appreciate it. It helps make our load a little bit lighter, and collectively we all learn more.
Yeah, there's an important reminder right now, and that is we are early in March. So don't rush, get some of those early things started that we talked about, and know that your best growing is ahead, starting in June, July, and August. And that's where things really, really start to take off and you're doing your winter gardening. So no need to panic if you haven't even done anything in your garden. You'll be doing just fine. So happy gardening and all the best.
Yeah.